How do we not let anxiety manage us right now?
I think when we talk about anxiety, what we have to understand is, we all know why we feel anxious. We all know why we feel anxiety, but we really have to understand what anxiety is in order to be able to manage it. Anxiety, we could say, is worry and it's stress. But I think even when you begin to kind of pull the layers back a little bit more, that what we really begin to see about anxiety is that it's about uncertainty and insecurity. We often think about insecurity as being just as a weakness, right? We think about insecurity as just a lack of security, but really what it is it's a struggle with control in our lives, that we can't control something, and it leaves us feeling very vulnerable. It leaves us in a place where we just feel susceptible to whatever could happen, and hypotheticals and possibilities. And it reminds me of a story of God's people who, had witnessed God's incredible work, delivering them from Egypt, where they were enslaved, and they were going to a great place, what we call the Promised Land. And yet, all the while on their journey to the Promised Land, they complain and they grumble and they begin to fear, fret, and feel anxious about things. Behind that is really a struggle with control and insecurity. And I think we can identify a lot with that, with just kind of where we are in this season that we're in. I think that what we have to understand is that it's not helpful just to simply say, hey, God's got this. Yes, God does. God's all-powerful, omnipotent, all-knowing, all of the omnis. But I think what is really helpful for us in this season of uncertainty and when we feel insecure or anxious, I think we do two things, right? I think the first thing that we do is we remember. And that word remember, it's the opposite of dismember, which means to pull something apart. Remember means to put it all back together again. And so what we can do is we can reflect on God's goodness and all of the things that God has done for us in our lives and in this world, and we put them back together. And what that does is it fuels a sense of gratitude within us. And I think the second thing that we do is we recognize. And recognize is so much more than just being able to see something and identify it, but it's really keeping your eyes open to see God still at work in our world. God's still at work in our individual lives, that we haven't been left abandoned or forsaken. We have to remember, and I think we have to recognize. And I think that can help us to fight through those feelings of anxiety or insecurity and uncertainty that we feel.